Hi everyone, another video here for preparation for Maypole Mayhen this weekend. Really excited as always. We've got an absolutely huge squad. Cobras seem to have this bit of a theme. We take small squads, still do really well. So now having 18 players, 9 guys, 9 ladies, I'm really excited to see what we can achieve this weekend at Maypole Mayhem. Before we get into it, I just want to review some stuff from Spring Showdown. So that was a couple of weeks ago now. It was a really tough weekend, been reflecting a lot on it, and there's a lot to take away, both moving forwards as well as positives from the weekend as well. So first of all, squad was quite small and conditions were really tough. Well done to everybody that when you really ground it out. There were some really tough games, and the conditions were really not favourable. 40-mile-an-hour winds on the Saturday, crosswind, upwind, downwind, against some tough opposition as well. But we really proved our class, top in the group with 3 wins. We also had our first learning/development session in between a couple of the games, going over some offensive handler movement, to get that disc reset a little bit more easy, as well as the continuation cut from that, as well as tightening up our match defense, looking at the intricacies of body positioning, as well as working as a team on match defense, as opposed to just focusing on your 1v1 matchup. It's still 7v7. There's a lot of help, a lot of switching, and a lot of a heads-up D that we can do through a lot of communications. If anybody has any more questions about that, please do let me know. I'll be recapping it a little bit this weekend, and hopefully we'll be able to do a bit more practice on the defensive side of things that we didn't get to do at Spring Showdown. But offensively, I'll put up some slides on the Facebook group so everybody can see, just summarising what we went through for future reference. Sunday, we went straight into the semis against Cosmic Manatees. Went a few points down at the start. Really made it tough for ourselves, but we adapted and made the changes to both our offensive structure and defensive structure. Cosmic Manatees, being Brighton based, had their flex style defense, kind of semi-zonal, semi-man, and their hexagon offense, which is like a spread offense, hexagon outside with a man in the middle. I think everybody did really well adapting the very fine details of our zone, as well as finding the space on offense, taking what's given to get the disc moving. And we ended up winning the half 8-7 after going 3-0 down, and then winning the game overall. We really stepped up and grew into that game. A lot of mental strength is required to do that, and something that Cobras have kind of been typically thought of not having that mental reserve to come back from that adversity. So it was great to see people keeping calm, focusing on their individual game, getting rid of the individual errors, as well as providing some team feedback on how we can improve as a group moving forwards through that. And as a 90-minute game, now for a lot of us, it was the first time playing a full 90-minute game. So that was good to see everybody pushing all the way through to the end. We then had a final against Lemmings, and we ended up going 6-0 down to start off with. Not ideal. I think looking at that and the Cosmic Manatees game, a lot of teams come out with their drills and their set plays. They come out firing because they have a rigid regime as to how they're going to play, and that really benefits them in the first 10-20 minutes of a match. And at the same time, because Cobras don't have that level of structure, we have a lot more of an organic style, both on offense and defense, and we have a slower start to games because of that. But what we do is we adapt, and we grow into games much faster and much better than other teams. So in general, what I've seen between Mixed Tour 1 and Mixed Tour 2 is that we may take a couple of points, or it'll be even trading at the start of the game, and then we'll just step up and raise that intensity again and again and again, and surpass teams to the point where they're overwhelmed with what we're doing, changing tactics, and going from there. And we did that somewhat in the Lemmings game. Although we went quite a few points down, I don't think it was actually as bad as 6-0 reflecting on it. It may have been 6-1 or 6-2. But they took half quite convincingly, had some really decent shots into the end zone, really clinical. And looking at our side, I think we just made some personal errors. myself included. I'm not exempt from that at all. And we didn't really play our game. We let Lemmings dictate the way that we played. But in the second half, we absolutely swamped them. We tightened the zone. We found the space on our fence to swing the disc. And find those spaces, as well as taking the shots over the zone and around the zone. And we had more patience in front of the red zone as well. So final score, I can't remember off the top of my head now. I think it was around 13-10 after we clawed back 4 points on the bounce in a cap that was half an hour long. So the game ended up being 2 hours long total. So again, our mental reserve there was brilliant. I really couldn't ask for more. People were putting their bodies on the line and making big plays and getting on people's backs to keep people motivated and giving that on and off pitch support, which was one of the big focuses going into the weekend. So I really couldn't ask for more than that. But we really do need to focus on how we can come into games with the same level of intensity and that clinical nature as our opponents. In that final, there was one defining kind of moment of change. I think we were a couple of points down. Lemmings were looking to get an upwind break. Everybody it was off a huck against our zone, and everybody sprinted back to the end zone. All 7 people behind the disc, great pressure, and then there was a layout D from Luke on the front of the end zone to get the turnover that we then went and scored from. And from that moment, everybody just seemed to want it so much more. Just that intensity from those 7 people on the field and that one moment of greatness, it really, really gave people that extra kick and that extra motivation to do more and to bring it to our opposition. So it'd be great if we can harness that and we can have more of those opportunities going into the weekend. Stat-wise, interestingly, our conversion rate was higher at Mixed Tour 2 than it was Mixed Tour 1. But that being said, we had 149 throwaways. So I will caveat that. There were terrible conditions and we were playing a lot of huck and D. But what we saw was that we were getting the disc back, which is quite important. So although we turned over, we did get the disc back and we did convert more points than we were doing at Mixed Tour 1. So it is a bit situational. Looking at the spread of hockey assists and Ds, points that people played and playing time, it was a lot more evenly spread. I think we developed 2 lines as we went through the weekend that proved really fruitful. And that was reflected on the stats. So it wasn't really an outstanding stat leader, but it was great to see people who are taking a little bit more of a backseat at Mixed Tour 1, kind of developing into the squad, showing themselves and stepping up in Mixed Tour 2. So going on to Maypole Mayhem, the team list looks much stronger than Spring Showdown. We're starting off 7th and 2nd in our group. We have Birmingham, ourselves, Ireland mixed under 24, and Bristol mixed. So it's going to be a really, really good Saturday for competitive tight games. And against teams like Birmingham and Ireland under 24 mixed in particular, they're going to be well drilled. They're going to have their tactics set. So where we were finding ourselves going down at the beginning of games against Cosmic Manatees and Lemmings at last tour, we're really going to need to nip that in the bud this tour. And although we may be trading and it's going to be really tight and we may go a point down, we do need to just grasp it, really focus on those individual efforts and those little tweaks and that adaptation that we can do as a team to start that game off those games off strong. We, as I mentioned before, we've got a lot of players, 9 guys, 9 ladies. I'm looking at splitting us into 2 lines. There will be a reasonable amount of flexibility. I'll be looking to make changes on the fly, but I want to try and get a good amount of chemistry for an upwind, downwind or OD kind of setup. So I'll be putting that together coming into the weekend, and I'll share that with you closer to the time. Focuses for Maypole Mayhem. First of all, we're having fun. That's our biggest focus. It always has been. Everybody comes in with smiles on their faces and backing everybody up. So that's brilliant. We're going to keep that going. Again, going on from Mixed Tour 2 or Spring Showdown, the team atmosphere was brilliant. We asked for people to be on the line, everybody, all players on the line before points, and lots of sideline chat. And that was really helpful with us getting those gains in the second half of games. So let's continue that. I want everybody on the line in between points. Then you can go off and get water and help sideline your teammates. And you can have some chats with your line about any improvements or adjustments that you need to make. Thirdly, I'd like to add a defensive adjustment to our zone. I think downfield on our zone, we're really good with our arrowhead. We've got a chase and two tips. We've got then an up deep, two wings, and a deep. Those four at the back in that diamond formation do really well. But I'd like to bring something in as the front three man marking as opposed to using as an arrowhead. So the zone shifts from what we know as an arrowhead to what I've been taught as FSU, which generally stands for fuck shit up, mind the language, but it generally does. So you handle a mark using front three, you then have an up deep poach, two wings, and a deep poach. I think that would be a really good addition to our defensive repertoire. So developing that in some of the games would be great. And I've got some information from my days in Cambridge from our playbook that I'll hopefully be able to share with everybody leading up, so we have a bit more of a look at and a breakdown as to how the zone works. And that's going to form part of our focus for our development session at the weekend as well. Otherwise, I've spoken for far too long. Thank you again for watching the video. I really hope it helps. If anybody has any questions, thoughts going into the weekend, please don't hesitate to drop me a message. If there's anything that you want to teach in our kind of like development style sessions, which we'll be doing again between a couple of games on the Saturday, please let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing everybody nice and late on Saturday morning for our 12 o'clock start. And yeah, really psyched for our final mixed outing. Well, hopefully not final mixed outing for the year if we do regionals and things like that. But yeah, really excited. Look forward to seeing everybody at the weekend. Thanks again for watching, and yeah, see you guys soon. Cheers.